If there is meaning in life at all, then there must be meaning in suffering. That is a quote from Viktor Frankl, a man who survived not 1, 2, or 3, but 4 concentration camps during World War II. A man who survived the horrors that few have endured. A man who questioned the meaning of life. Heyo, and welcome to another episode of The Darchives. I'm Jamie talking to Leo.
And I'm Leo listening to Jamie.
And this week we have a listener suggestion. This was a message from somebody who found us on Reddit and suggested this man to talk about. Before we start the episode, we have a Patreon that is live.
Yes, we do. And you guys can all join that for free. And it has the same ad-free content that all the other platforms have. But there's also a membership tier for as little as $1 a month. And that basically just helps us keep the lights on over here. Helps us try to raise some capital to increase the amount of shows we can do. And we're going to try to give you guys a little bit more of a sneak peek in there. But mostly just supporting the show right now at this level.
Yep. Fine. Well, with that out of the way, you ready?
Yeah. Tell me about this Viktor Frankl.
Well, Viktor Emil Frankl was born on March 26, 1905 in Vienna, Austria. In middle school, he began to study philosophy and even learned hypnosis at 15 years old. What are your views on hypnosis? In no relation to this man, just in general, what are your views on hypnosis?
It's one of those things that I've seen happen, supposedly in front of me, but I still don't believe it. I've seen it with my eyes, and I don't get it.
I think it's one of those things that, like, if it could be done to me, I'd obviously be a believer, but until then, I'm a bit of a skeptic like you. Which is crazy, because I believe pretty near everything, but hypnotism's the one where I'm like, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Yeah.
Weird pseudoscience.
Yeah. While a teenager, he began corresponding with Sigmund Freud. And Freud even got permission to publish one of Frankl's papers on psychology. By 22 years old, he was already lecturing, doing tours, and just speaking about what he believed was the meaning of life. At 25, he organized free youth counseling centers with the goal of combating teen suicide around the Vienna area, and he was so successful in doing so that there was a year with a teen suicide rate of 0%.
Damn.
Yeah. He earned his doctorate in medicine and then joined the staff of the Am Steinhof Psychiatric Hospital in Vienna, where he was in charge of treating female patients with suicidal tendencies. Over the course of his time there, he treated around 3,000 patients a year. He headed this department until 1937, when he then decided to establish a private practice for neurology and psychiatry. However, we know what was happening in Europe around this time. Just a year later, in 1938, Nazi Germany annexed Austria, and since Frankl was Jewish, he was forced to close his practice. Going back into the public sector, Frankl joined Vienna's Rothschild Hospital as the chief of neurology. So he was kind of doing it all with the brain, you know? This was the only hospital that was still admitting Jewish people at the time. We're really getting into the anti-Semitism and
The throes of World War II.
Yeah, of the Nazi parts of World War II, yeah. While working here, he met a nurse named Tilly Grosser, and they were soon married and expecting a child. Great news. The bad news is that Jewish people in the area were being rounded up and carted away in trains to the unknown and horrifying camps that would soon become world famous.
The famous concentration camps.
Yeah, we're not going to get too deep into the horrors of the concentration camps, but there is a bit of talk about that. Thanks to Frankl's professional recognition, he was offered an opportunity to escape Vienna with a visa. So he was offered an out, like get completely out of Europe. However, one thing was causing him hesitation, and that was his parents. On a fateful visit to see them, his father showed him a piece of rubble that he had taken from the ruins of a destroyed synagogue. His father had taken it because it was a piece of a marble carving that contained one of the 10 Commandments. When Frankl looked at it, He realized it was the one that said to honor thy mother and father. It was then that he decided he couldn't leave them behind, and he let his visa expire. In 1942, the unavoidable horror came into the life of Frankl and the people he was closest to. He and his family were taken and forced into a concentration camp. Theresienstadt. Theresienstadt. Stadt.
Theresienstadt.
It's so hard for my English mouth to pronounce.
I just made it up. Yeah, German is hard for Americans.
Yeah. Theresienstadt. 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 Yeah, okay.
Hopefully that's right.
Yep. Theresienstadt concentration camp is where they were sent. This camp, also known as Terezin in Czech, was located in the Czech Republic and was unique. It was established primarily for elderly Jewish people, World War I vets, and notable people like artists and intellectuals.
Cushy camp, hopefully.
Yeah, it was supposed to look like one. It served as a transit point and was masked under the guise of being a retirement community. It was known for the organized cultural activities that were put together, like theater, music, and art programs. But don't let that fool you. This place was cramped and extremely unhygienic, which led to it becoming a hotspot for epidemics within its walls. So it wasn't the worst of the worst, but it was still by no means a good experience. At its peak in 1942, 53,000 people were crammed into just 150 square yards. Just in 1942 alone, almost 16,000 people died of disease there. More than 155,000 Jewish people were passed through this camp in its time, with 35,500 people dying there and about 88,000 other people being moved to various other camps within Europe. Looking online and reading Frankl's book, which we'll talk about more in a bit, doesn't provide too much insight into his time here, but what is known is that while here, his father died from starvation and pneumonia. Now, above all else, Frankl was a psychologist. His book focuses more on the mind's reaction and processing through the camps than the camps themselves. The second camp that he went to was Auschwitz, a camp many of us have heard of, and it has the horrible honor of being not only one of the most well-known, but also one of the most brutal camps established by the regime. Established in 1940 in Poland, it was the largest concentration camp, and in 1942, it became the largest extermination camp. It was divided into 3 parts. Auschwitz I was the first and oldest part, called the main camp. It held about 15,000 to 20,000 people. Auschwitz II was the Birkenau camp, and in 1944, it held over 90,000 people. This was the largest section. It also held the buildings that would be used to kill, and this is where the majority of people were murdered. So think gas chambers and crematorium were in this area. Auschwitz III had more than 40 subcamps, and this is where the majority of the slave labor was done. There was also an interest zone, which was between sections 1 and 2, and that was where the administration set up camp with technical support, workshops, storage, offices, and the living quarters for the SS guards that were working there. Immediately upon arrival, Frankl is stripped of everything. His clothes, his hair, all of his body hair was shaved off, any documents, and his name. His number was 119104. When the train transporting everyone first arrived at the camp, prisoners came inside the trains, striped outfits, and shaved heads. They were the kapos, prisoners who were given the role and position of a volunteer SS kind of gig. The prisoners who came on board to retrieve everyone seemed well-fed and in good humor, which kind of gave the illusion of false hope. Right? Maybe it's not so bad here. These guys look good. They seem okay. Maybe we'll all be okay.
Yeah.
This was done intentionally, though. It was done to create the false sense of security. What lay in that camp was not going to be the experience that these prisoners projected. The group was forced into a line where an SS officer stood at the front and pointed either left or right. Being pointed to the left meant death, while pointing to the right meant labor. For the people sent to the left, the sentence was carried out almost immediately. They were sent over to the crematorium, which had the word bath written on it, and prisoners were even handed pieces of soap.
So they were made to think they were going to wash, but really they just got burned.
Yeah, the falsehoods that they set out to project is crazy to me. I mean, what is the point of trying... Well, I guess I do know the point. I was going to ask what was the point of trying to lull them into that sense of security, and it's to probably just avoid mass panic. And
yeah, is it easier to herd sheep to slaughter, or is it you got rabbits running around everywhere going buck wild?
Exactly, yeah. I kind of answered my own question while asking it, but yeah, the imagery that they did it's crazy to me. Frankl was directed to the right, deemed young enough and fit enough to work. He was not utilized as a doctor, but instead as a laborer, and his job was to dig and lay tracks for a railway line and also dig for water mains. He was given advice by fellow prisoners on how to not look too weak or sick, since those people would be taken in for death. He was told to shave his face even if there was no hair on it, and even if you had to give up your very meager rations to get a hold of a razor. The reasoning behind this was that the razor would irritate your face to make it look more red, more lively, And having a shaved face also tends to make somebody look younger. So the prisoners are trying to create their own images as well, their own kind of illusions. And it must have been so hard to just keep that up every day, not knowing if or when there was an end to this. There's no timeline for these people on when they could potentially be released, so it's just make it to the next day. Though the malnutrition that everybody suffered didn't help with any illusions of looking healthy in any regard. Frankl described it as looking like, quote, skeletons disguised with skin and rags, end quote.
Yeah, I've seen some pictures of people in concentration camps, and I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah. Small pieces of bread and watery soup were given as rations for the day, and out of this came two different groups of people. Those that ate everything right away, and those that would hold on to the small pieces of bread to try and sneak bites out of it during the day. Now there is some, I don't want to call it controversy, but we'll call it a debate on how long Frankl was actually in Auschwitz. Some sources claim he was there for just a few days, while others say he was there for a few weeks. His book is extremely unhelpful in trying to nail down his timeline. The book makes it seem like he was at Auschwitz for a lot longer than he realistically was. The way that he talks about it kind of sounds like months that he was there, but it's not likely that he was there that long.
Yeah, but I mean, even a few days to a few weeks of indentured servitude, aka slave labor, probably felt like months, and I'm sure he had nothing but time to observe all the things around him, and there was a lot to observe in that short time, no matter what it was.
Of course, yeah, his timeline at Auschwitz does not negate everything that he saw and went through at that camp or in any others, but I did want to mention that because it is brought up a lot with him, is this timeline. I even saw one source claim that he wasn't even registered at Auschwitz and that he had gotten his number tattoo before Auschwitz, so at the previous camp. But you are still correct in your thinking of it. Realistically, he still saw horrible things, had to do bad things. It's just something that I wanted to at least speak on.
Yeah.
The next camp, though, that Frankl was taken to was a camp associated with Dachau, which was Kaufering 3.
I have no idea what you just said there. What are you talking about?
Okay. Dachau is a pretty large and relatively well-known concentration camp, and Kaufering 3 was a sub-camp of that.
Okay.
Dachau was the first regular concentration camp that was established, and it was done in March of 1933, which I did not realize that they were building them that early.
Evil never sleeps.
I guess not.
They were preparing for what they were going to do.
Yeah, they knew what they were going to do for a while, it seems, yeah. Dachau would become the model for all the subsequent camps created, and it was also the training center for the SS guards who were to be deployed as guards to all the other camps. This camp was also used for human medical experiments, reminiscent of what we discussed in our 731 episode. And there was also a lot of slave labor, forced labor, slave labor, you know.
For anyone who hasn't heard the 731 episode, the experiments she's referring to are, at least for 731's case, things like live vivisections, cutting people open, seeing how long they can survive without a heart, without different organs, how to best freeze and or thaw limbs, and they would literally freeze people's feet and then try to thaw them out in various ways. They referred to their prisoners and experiment, like their test subjects, as logs because they dehumanized them so badly.
Yeah. The ones at Dachau specifically are some of the ones that you mentioned, which was like the hypothermia experiments.
Mm-hmm.
They also did the like the altitude experiments kind of things with like pressure chambers, which I believe 731 did as well. Or did they do G-force?
I think 731 did. I know they did G-force. They would spin people until they'd either go unconscious or die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Dachau did similarly.
Pressure tests.
They did pressure
Till
tests.
your fucking head popped.
Yeah, like high altitude or like decompression, things like that. So all of it terrible, but they were doing those things as well at Dachau. So big, bad, nasty camp.
Nazis loved their experiments.
God, they did. They did. The Axis powers, they were really just trying to see what the fuck they could do with people.
Yeah, Japan and Germany were just testing the limits of people in horrid ways.
Oh, that actually gave me goosebumps. That's what the hell, guys.
Yeah, Hitler really fucked everything up.
You don't say.
How that guy had such a stranglehold over the Axis powers, really.
I don't know. The dude was methed out half the time. Just ranting and raving and getting peed on.
I don't know.
I don't either.
He's wild.
Conditions at this camp were just about as bad as you would think. Prisoners were forced to sleep in earthen huts that were actually somewhat submerged into the ground and then covered with earth, so that way they would not be visible through like flyovers. They just look like mounds of earth. Here, Frankl talks about a massive typhus outbreak, which killed a great many of people, specifically those who were already weak. I mean, at this point, everybody's weak. It's it's like 1942, 1943. Everybody's weak in these camps.
And then the icing on the cake, typhus.
Yeah. The sickbay was hardly adequate, and there were pretty much no medicine and no medical workers there. It was winter, and so brutally cold, the conditions in general were pretty rough. The workers, slaves, prisoners, were forced to march first thing in the morning before the sun was up out to the work sites. Sore and swollen feet worked with their dead tired muscles to make even a small walk almost unbearable. The icy winds and cold puddles on the ground or just walking through the snow made it that much worse. They were just walking out in rags.
This is where I subscribe to Jamie's theory. I mean, kudos to all the men and women that made it through these situations.
I can't even imagine.
But dude, take me out. I don't want to do that. Not for very long. I might be able to handle it for a little bit, but that just sounds, I mean, it is what it is. It's torture.
Yeah.
It's torture. It's never ending. And what's the worst case scenario? I don't work anymore and then you kill me? Bro, at that point, just do it.
There was a pretty prevalent suicide method that was discussed in his book, and it was to run headfirst into the electrified barbed wire fences.
I just charge a guard.
Yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
That seems a lot quicker.
Frankl says that for a brief moment, he had considered suicide as well, but, I mean, obviously he didn't. But it was a thought that crossed the minds of almost every single person who had to endure this.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Back to these cold marches. In one instance, a man tripped and fell, and that caused the people behind him to also kind of stumble and fall over him. The guard who was walking with and monitoring the men came over and whipped them. Literally, with a whip, whipped everybody on the ground. While here at this camp, though, he does speak of some more lighthearted things, like how the prisoners found time to sing, recite poetry, small little acts that would bring a bit of joy, you know?
Yeah, keeping the humanity in an inhumane situation.
Yes, trying to. These little tiny moments of, I don't want to call it joy, but little moments of...
escape.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Exactly, an escape from the reality that they were in. Side note, Frankl also talks about one night while he was in his cabin, and I mean, it was butt crack to ball sack, these men forced into these beds, and a man next to him was having a nightmare and was like kind of kicking out a little bit and crying out in his sleep. And Frankl was going to wake him, and then at the last second, like, pulled his hand back, and he was like, whatever he's experiencing in his dreams right now can't be as bad as the reality out here, and let the man go through the nightmare.
Yeah, well, the nightmare's probably better than reality.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's another kind of, it reminded me of that, the escape, right? When your nightmare is an escape from your reality. Whoo, boy howdy.
Mm-hmm.
Beatings were doled out for speaking, any sort of provocation, anything pretty much. Any reason, any excuse that a guard could take to beat somebody, they would. Even with those little moments of reprieve, the horrors of the reality they were in still existed and were ever present. Frankl was taken to the last of his 4 camps, Kaufering 4, which was just another sub-camp of Dachau. He was used as a doctor here and described getting 5 to 10 aspirin tablets that were supposed to last for days and be given to up to 50 patients. Only some cases would receive even half a tablet, but the majority of people never got any medicine. If they were too far gone, that half a tablet wouldn't even do anything. There was no point in giving them medicine when the medicine could be given to somebody who potentially had a chance. Frankl himself caught typhus here, but he did survive. So, I mean, I don't want to call it luck, because I don't think it's luck. I think his mental attitude towards everything did have something to do with it. The fact that he even caught typhus and was able to survive is so much more than so many others could say. April 1945. The Allies were drawing nearer to the camps, and the Nazis were panicking. This whole operation was obviously a massive crime, and because of that, the workers fled and the prisoners had to be moved. The camps themselves weren't crimes, but the conditions and the activities inside were so bad that the Nazis knew nothing good was going to come of this once the Allies caught up. So the death marches and the burnings began. Thousands of prisoners were forced to march towards Dachau, the main camp, and anyone who couldn't walk was killed by being shot or beaten to death. Back at the camp, SS guards set fire to the barracks, and this would result in the death of anyone who couldn't walk from being too weak or too ill. Frankl and another man were in the midst of an escape plan to get out of the camp when the gates suddenly flew open and a large car with red crosses came in. It was the International Red Cross of Geneva. All in all, Frankl spent about 3 years in 4 separate concentration camps. His father died in the first camp, his mother and brother died in the gas chambers of Auschwitz, and his wife died of typhus in Bergen-Belsen, another concentration camp. Only his sister had survived, but she did so by fleeing the continent. Throughout his time in the camps, he concluded there were 3 stages to people's time there. 1, at the time of arrival, the first stage was shock. Shock from the conditions and the reality of it all. Shock from being able to even muster a smile, and shock from the treatment of their fellow man. 2, once someone had become accustomed to the routine and everyday existence of the camp, came apathy or numbness. No longer did people feel grief or even consider suicide. They didn't feel the disgust and the horror and the pity that they did when they first got there. They simply felt a lack of any more emotion, completely unfazed and unsurprised by the death and decay that surrounded them. 3, in the period following liberation, people became disillusioned and bitter. Many, after being liberated, felt that the world couldn't understand and didn't care to understand what they had endured and what they had lost. This obviously caused many negative emotions and feelings within the survivors. I mean, obviously, I've thought about the aftermath in the soldiers and the immediate aftermath for the Holocaust survivors, but the long-term effects of going through something that horrible, that impactful, and that traumatizing, I'd never really thought about how that would affect you long term. And to hear that they were bitter and disillusioned by the world, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's just trauma and war has always been something, and especially way back then, mental health was just so overlooked.
Oh my God, yeah. Yes.
Really taking care of mental health is a relatively new concept. Like actually getting into the weeds of trying to figure out depression and anxiety and PTSD. Yeah, all this stuff it's relatively newer stuff. Back then there was little to no resources.
I know. That is another thing that I thought about while creating this episode, while putting it together. We know the death toll. That is a quick Google search. How many people died in World War II? How many people died in concentration camps? But a thought that crossed my mind is how many people died because of the war after the fact?
Yeah, I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure there was a decent amount.
Just from whether it's, like Frankl suggests, that it was the bitterment, just anger, unable to feel understood or accepted, whatever the feeling may be. Or if it was just depression, if it was such bad anxiety, if it was the PTSD. How many men lost their lives years after the war because of the war? I would like to think that in today's society, people as a whole, people in general, would be kinder and more understanding and more empathetic, sympathetic towards survivors of war in whatever form that may be, War is hell. Yeah, and I agree. I never thought of that before either, but it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. His whole book, which I guess I'll just mention now, it's called Man's Search for Meaning. His whole book delves into the psychology and the questioning of the whole experience of life and its meanings and its whys. So his book was very psychological in terms of his observations and his, kind of reasoning behind things. Yes, he had a very academic approach on what he went through. Yes. Logotherapy is an existential therapy that was developed by Frankl that believes the main motivation in humans is to find the purpose or meaning in life. So that's kind of where he got his title, Man's Search for Meaning. This theory, this psychological analysis, whatever you want to call it, was mainly developed from his time in the camps. After he was freed, Frankl returned to Vienna, where he was appointed as chief of neurology at the Vienna Polyclinic Hospital. In 1946, over the course of 9 days, he dictated to a team of assistants his book, which was first published as A Psychologist Experiences the Concentration Camp, or, as it is in English today, Man's Search for Meaning. So that was written in just 9 days. In 1947, he married his second wife, Ellie Schwint, and together they had a daughter named Gabrielle, who also grew up to be a psychologist. Frankl worked in the brain, whether psychology or neurology. He worked in that field for the rest of his life, but also enjoyed things like mountain climbing, and he took flying lessons. At 85 years old, he became blind, and at 92 years old, in 1997, he passed away. His legacy is continued in the Viktor Frankl Institute in Vienna and lives on through his numerous literary works. And that is it. That is the
story of Viktor Frankl.
That is the tale of Viktor Frankl. Thoughts, views, and opinions?
Thank you. I've never heard that story before. Thank you to our Reddit friend who suggested us looking into Viktor Frankl. It's very eye-opening to hear accounts of people that go through these things. You know, most of us, we live in this world where we're very privileged, where we don't have to deal with that. A majority of people don't have to deal with things like that. And you grow up knowing things were bad and things are wrong and horrible things were done. But it just hits a little different when you get like a firsthand account of this is a man talking about what he went through.
Yes. And I mean, I will say his book goes into so much more detail and gives many more accounts of his time and what he saw. So, I mean, if you want to know more, we will have his book sourced down below. It'll be on our website. There was a lot. He told a story during his apathy phase, right? His numbness, where he watched another prisoner dragging another prisoner by his feet, and he had just died an hour or two before. And he describes watching this body being taken up a set of stairs.
Just thump, thump, thump up the stairs.
Yep. And just watching the man's head just bounce off the stairs and not feeling anything about it.
You're so numb to everything. You're like, just gonna get to where I'm going.
Yep. Or there was another, when they first arrived at Auschwitz, somebody was asking, you know, where's my friend? Where's my friend? And another prisoner said, look up. And when they did, there was smoke coming out of the crematorium. And he goes something along the lines of, that's your friend. He's on his way to heaven. And it, like, there are so many more tales like that in the book of just
sad stories.
Yeah, just sad stories. So, I mean, if this interests you, I can't recommend it enough. It really is a fantastic book, but that's
what we got.
That's what we got. That's that, friends.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. I really did enjoy hearing a perspective from inside the camp.
I do agree with you. Ready to wrap this one up?
Yeah, let's do it. You guys can follow us on Instagram.
Or send us an email, both of which are linked in the show description below.
You can join our Patreon for free or be a supporter of the Dark Ives for as little as $1 a month. All support is appreciated.
And you can go to our website, darkivespodcast.com, where you can check out some blogs we've written about our previous episodes.
Pick up some merch.
Check out my book collection page because I'm really proud of it. And yeah, I think that's it. Fantastic. Well, thank you for hanging out with us this week. Join us next week as we uncover another Dark Hive together.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you.
Goodbye. Rough and tough shit, huh?
Yeah. Do you have any other story off the top that you can remember? Like, what was one of the wildest stories that you didn't tell during the episode?
I believe it was at his third camp. He talks about how the main topics of conversation within the camp were politics and religion. Politics, obviously, were sourced from rumors of like, oh, you know, England's getting close, maybe they'll get here, or, oh, Germany just took a big loss in Poland. But the religion got crazy, right? Like, I mean, we're at death's doorstep every day. We're praying to whatever God we believe in. But one crazy story came from when a group got together to perform a seance. They went into a hut at night and they performed a seance trying to communicate with the dead, Try and get some answers, figure out what's going on. Isn't that
Would that be Wiccan behavior?
mysticism?
Mysticism?
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm not up on my isms.
On your woo-woo stuff.
I'm not an ismologist, so I don't know. But yeah, no, I don't usually think of a bunch of people in there just pulling out the Ouija board, seeing what's up.
Trying to look for any sign, anything. We're scared. We're talking to whoever will answer. 2 settings that you wouldn't imagine crossing paths, huh? Concentration camp and a seance?
No, I wouldn't have.